Stats don't matter. You get the win, you get the win.
Jukes, he spins, he hurdles.
That is a Super Bowl run of form.
Just not acceptable, really, to be a top team.
These are the games that you need to be winning.
That doesn't say explosiveness. I don't know what does.
Welcome back to the Early Hours podcast. Monday Night Football has been and gone, and as much as I'd love to play some more cricket noises, I think it is important to unpack this game. The Packers losing to the Eagles 7-10, and I said in the previous episode, it's the hope that kills you, and it's looking like our playoff hopes are dying off by the week.
Yeah, and it was a night that was ultimately carried by the defence, wasn't it? It's funny, primetime games. It kind of bookended the weekend schedule.
I don't know who was in charge of making these primetime slots, especially with the Raiders Broncos on Thursday night, but they did not deliver.
No, they didn't. And like I said, the defence carried the night. Packers actually did a good job defensively as a whole. Held the Eagles to 10 points, as we said, 4.1 yards per play, and they actually, they contained one of the best running backs in the league. Held him to 60 yards on the night on 22 carries. So they were trying to run the ball, they just couldn't. So that's positive in that sense. And despite some individual performances lacking, the wow factor, Parsons, for example, obviously a statement signing for us, didn't record a pressure, didn't record a sack. So some slight concerns there, but on a whole, really good. It's just the Packers offense that struggles, and evidently so. It's happened for a few weeks now. It was brutal, really. 176 passing yards on the night and just 2.9 yards per carry, and that's with one of the best running backs in the league. That is just simply unacceptable. So questions around the play calling there for sure, and that puts some pressure on Matt LaFleur's head. And if we look at the Eagles as well, they weren't exactly explosive themselves, but some really big plays. Devonta Smith with a 36-yard touchdown catch, and then Barkley recorded that quite iconic spin of his now. He kind of jukes into a spin. We saw that last year with the hurdle that made him the Madden star. And yeah, we saw it again, cooking Carrington Valentine.
The Packers, they basically just match who they're up against. So yeah, we were good on defense, but I think offensively it's becoming a lot more noticeable that we were heavily reliant on Tucker Kraft, and now, because we don't have him, who else have we got? Dobbs picking up an injury and he's questionable coming back. Do we rely on Christian Watson, who, let's face it, might not make it to the end of the season because he's so injury prone? It's not looking too good if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, but yeah, let's see how we get on this week against the Giants. Speaking of this weekend, we've got a plethora of games as usual. We've got a game in Madrid for the first time, historic game for the NFL. That is the Commanders at the Dolphins. That's a big opportunity for a franchise to establish themselves in a country. We've seen it in London. The Jags are London's team. Over when I was in Sao Paulo, the first game there was Packers-Eagles. So many jerseys for that game. When it was the Chiefs-Chargers, they'd already cemented themselves in there. The Colts looking like a German team through and through now. I think whoever wins this could cement themselves in Spain.
Both teams East Coast as well, which obviously helps for the time zone in Madrid. So we know that the Spanish are so massive on sport. I mean, you look at our version of football, they're absolutely just sport mad over there. So there's a real market to go after. Dolphins, Commanders, two teams that you'd like to think, the last couple of years have looked like they could show some promise. Obviously, the Commanders in the NFC game last year. The Dolphins, when they signed Tyreek Hill, brought Tua through. Obviously, it's not quite worked out for either team this season, but I think both need a big bounce-back game this week. Obviously, the Dolphins won last week in a huge, huge victory, so it's poised to be, hopefully, an entertaining game for the casuals over in Spain. And, if the NFL can just take over another country in Europe, then, Big Roger's vision really is coming true over here, isn't it?
100%. I've got the Dolphins to go off, actually, in Madrid. I think Achane should run riot in theory against a poorly ranked Washington Commanders defence. I think they are 30th, actually, out of the 32 teams, which is crazy. 394.6 yards per games allowed, which is just not acceptable, really, to be a top team. And I don't know, I think about, you mentioned Tyreek Hill, I think about the Dolphins being quite a star-boy team, and it just fits for me in the Bernabeu. So, yeah, I think we could see some of the key Real Madrid players, for example, this week, teaming up on some of the promotional stuff and the press conference stuff and rocking some Achane jerseys.
Both teams there experiencing issues at quarterback as well. Obviously, Jaden Daniels out with an injury. Tua is ranked 1 in interceptions through week 10. So all to play for, really, when it comes to that game. Elsewhere, this Sunday, we've got a NFC North divisional matchup here. We've got the Bears at the Vikings. The Bears, if they win this, they could go 7-3 and they could be serious playoff contenders.
I love this matchup. I think it's a really interesting matchup, and I honestly think it's a serious opportunity for JJ McCarthy to shut the haters out now, really establish himself. There's obviously been a lot of noise surrounding him. He's been injured. Is he the man to get the ball downfield? Is he taking on what Kevin O'Connell's trying to teach him? And I think he's poised to have a great game against a Bears defense that is a clear weakness against the passing game. They rank 27th in total yards allowed, 25th versus the pass specifically, and they're particularly vulnerable against rushing as well. So we could see Aaron Jones, we could see Mason teaming up, we could see him trying to stretch the field using Hockenson, using using Addison, using Jefferson. I think he's got an opportunity to really kind of open up the field and do what he wants. And I think it'll be a real test. If he doesn't perform well, is it an early sort of curtains on JJ McCarthy? Let's see. I'm not sure. He's running out of games to prove himself, in my opinion.
Are you hyping Minnesota up here because you've got Justin Jefferson in your fantasy team?
It's very possible. I could just be being optimistic, couldn't I? But yeah, I don't know. I like the matchup, and I think the Bears have got a bit of sauce about them recently. Ben Johnson's building a nice culture there. I think it could be a surprise one for the weekend.
I've got the Bears in that one. Elsewhere, we've got the Buccaneers at the Bills. 2 6-3 teams here, with the Bills looking for a bounce-back win after that defeat to the Dolphins last week. But the Buccaneers, they're not scot-free. Lots of injury concerns in that side. We've got the Bengals at the Steelers. Last time out in October, the Bengals scraping a narrow victory here, 33-31. Joe Burrow is back in training by the looks of it, but definitely not set to play here, which will be a battle of the veteran QBs and the Bengals coming off a bye. We've got the Packers at the Giants, a redemption game for the Packers, as we've already discussed. And breaking news here, James Winston named as the starting quarterback for that game this week. And then we've got the 49ers at the Cardinals, a battle of the bottom of the NFC West.
Look, I don't think there's a battle there, but yeah, we'll see. I fully expect for us to beat the Cardinals this week. At the time of recording, it's not 100% who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers, but the rumours are that Purdy could play this week. He could have gone last week, but Mac Jones was chosen just because of obviously the fit of the game, and don't really need to throw Brock Purdy into the Rams when we kind of knew what was going to happen. So I think this week we could see Brock back against the Jacoby Brissett Cardinals. Obviously, they were poor last week against the Seahawks, got some points back late in the game, but if we want to keep our playoff hopes alive, these are the games that you need to be winning, and I think, fingers crossed we will. Just hope we come out of it with no more injuries.
Get rid of him. Honestly, if Mac Jones can lead the charge in what can only be described as a hospital ward of the 49ers, if he can lead you through a positive record in that stint, imagine what he can do when your team's at full force. I think get rid of Purdy.
Who's going to pay the 250 odd million we've given him?
It's not your problem though, is it? It's not your problem.
It's just the money. The problem is, in 2 years' time, if we did go to Mac, he's going to want 50 million a year as well. What do you do then?
I think you could pay Mac Jones a lot less money and get similar results, but I understand what you're saying around the contract, and it's not that simple, is it? They have placed trust in Purdy, so it's one we'll have to keep a close eye on, and I think it really is going to be in question throughout the remainder of the season, and certainly if Mac Jones decides to go on a playoff run, that could really throw the off-season into a meltdown.
Mr. Irrelevant there, kind of getting more irrelevant as the season goes on, especially when he's not being played, living in Mac Jones' shadow potentially. We've got the Chiefs at the Broncos as well. I think this is one of the games where Bo Nix flips a switch, just goes nuclear.
Yeah, he might be onto something good. The Broncos lead the league in sacks and defensive EPA, so they are absolutely poised to take the win home. But the Chiefs, it's Chiefs' kingdom. This is primed as an opportunity for the Chiefs to regain confidence in the AFC West, re-establish who's going to go on a deep playoff run and take it to Allen in the postseason. And yeah, it's poised. It's all ready to go. Chiefs win. Book it.
Do you know what? I'm going to break the habit of a lifetime and agree with Oliver. I do think the Chiefs will win. No, it isn't. As we know on this pod, never listen to Oliver. However, I do think the Chiefs will get the win. I do think it'll be closer than what you're saying, though. The Broncos have made their 8-2 record basically scraping games, winning by not much more than 3, and very similar to what the Chiefs did last year. However, I do think it's time for normality to return to the NFL. I think the Chiefs get the win, and like you say, I think the Chiefs remind the Broncos whose house this is, whose division that is. I do think it'll be close. I've got the Chiefs by probably under 7.
I felt so alone for so many weeks, and here I am getting agreed with in a Week 10 preview.
It's a one-off special. That don't make a habit of it. And you got to remember as well, J.K. Dobbins tipped to be going on IR. He's questionable at the moment, but that's a massive blow for the Broncos offense. Then rounding out the Sunday slate, we've got some massive games in the late slot. Starting off with an NFC West matchup here. Two teams, 7-2. It's the Seahawks at the Rams. Both of them pushing for not just the playoffs, but the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we love this fixture so much that it actually managed to find its way into Monday's episode. We were trying to preview it. We were holding off just enough. But yeah, the Rams, they boast one of the highest pass completion rates in the league, 66.9%. And Stafford, he's thrown 25 touchdowns. So if that doesn't say explosiveness, I don't know what does. But then the Seahawks, they're not here just to lay down. They've got one of the best defenses in the league, and they average 9.8 yards per pass attempt. So Sam Darnold, JSN, Puka Nacua, old boy Stafford in his MVP race. It's just, sign me up.
Give me the Seahawks away from home, though, I think. You think?
Not for me.
Matt
It's the
shaking his
Rams for
head.
me. Rams for me, all day.
Really?
Yeah. I think the Seahawks, they've come up against not enough tested teams this year. They've played the 49ers in the West, lost. They've got to play the Rams twice. I think those two divisional matchups between those two teams could decide potentially who's the first seed, but for me, I think the Rams have got a bit too much.
To me, it screams Stafford goes for one of his polished, no-look passes, and he gets picked off like the Cardinals did last week. So, yeah, Kyron Williams is going to run into a brick wall. Stafford's getting picked. I just think it's a bad day, and I think JSN's going to be hitting a nice celebration in the end zone.
And if that wasn't enough, straight after that, it's the Lions at the Eagles. Again, two more teams fighting for that NFC top spot.
Just so, we've got Dan Campbell calling plays now. 2,000 passing yards plus 21 passing touchdowns. Goff has been, quietly going about his business in the NFC North, absolutely in the hunt, well in the first seed conversation. Eagles, meantime, what do we have to say on the Eagles? They're the Eagles. If they need to find a way on fourth down, they do. If Barkley needs to run the ball, he jukes, he spins, he hurdles. Yeah, I've got us a surprise one. Watch A.J. Brown in this game. Watch A.J. Brown. He is going to... he picked up a 80 yards in the last game, and not much was mentioned about that in a very low-scoring game, so let's see what he can do with it this time around.
I agree. Obviously, Detroit on the road, so it's going to be tough. But obviously, when you look at the records, 7-2 Eagles, 6-3 Lions. But if you just take a quick glance at the stats, the Lions are miles ahead. You talk about points per game, yards per game, sacks, interceptions, even time of possession. They're all top 5, and the Eagles are nowhere near. And again, stats don't matter. You get the win, you get the win. But at some point when the two top teams are playing, it does matter and it will take effect. I think Jared Goff's been a lot better than Jalen Hurts. The whole offense has been a lot better, if we're honest. Gibbs better than Barkley. You look at St. Brown against Brown. All these key matchups have in the Lions' favour. And for me, I think I've got the Lions to win. Obviously, Eagles 1.5 betting favourites. And like you say, the Eagles just do what it takes to get over the line. But for me, I think the Lions need a big game. They need to keep the pressure on the Bears, which who thought we'd say that? But yeah, huge game to round out Sunday. I cannot wait.
Yeah, give me the Lions for that one as well. I think, you look at Monday Night Football, the Eagles only being able to put up 10 points against us, and Detroit should say, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. We fancy our chances, especially with their run of form. And like you said, Oliver, they do find a way on fourth down, the Eagles. Sometimes it's offside, but most of the time it is just when 20 men are pushing the ball a couple of inches. So if the Lions can stop that, then they could be on for a winner there. But before all of that, we've got the New York Jets. They travel to New England to take on a Patriots side who are 8-2. 8-2, you're halfway through the season now, but that is a Super Bowl run of form. But don't count out the Jets. They are 2 in their last 2 games. Breece Hall looking like he could be the Jets' saviour. They could potentially go 3 in their last 3.
Yeah, the Patriots win this game by controlling the line of scrimmage. It's as simple as that. Shut down Breece Hall, and they've got an elite run defense. There's no two ways about it. Elite run defense versus, it's fair to say, an elite running back when he's on his day. And QB Drake May, right? He is continuing that MVP run. He's going to look to exploit a depleted secondary now with outsourced Gardner. And yeah, AFC East, it all comes down to this. Can the Patriots keep up their run of form, win this? They're expected to win this game. Or can Aaron Glenn build on what they've already been doing the last few weeks and take a monumental step forward in their division?
Yeah, Drake Brady May is what they're starting to call him in New England. To round out the show, some exciting news. The Early Hours crew will be on the ground in a week's time in the States. We're set to see 3 NFL games starting at SoFi. It'll be the Buccaneers at the Rams. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Stafford, he's balling out up against a Bucs side, which is make or break. Smells, who's up next?
So from LA, we're taking a bit of a hop up to the Bay. It's the week of the Carolina Panthers visiting the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey up against his old teammates, and we're at the venue of Super Bowl 60. An improved Panthers side this year, so hopefully it will be a good game. And all I can say is, how can it get any better than that?
No, we can always find ways to top it, mate. Come on, we've got Detroit versus the Packers on Thanksgiving for a start, and yeah, that's going to be amazing. What an experience. Thanksgiving in Ford Field. We're standing with the fans, which is a change, amongst the atmosphere and just waiting to see who wins for the Turducken celebration. And yeah, it should be a really fun time. Plenty of tailgating to do. And across all the games, really, it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, but before all of that, some NCAA action as well. The UCLA Bruins, they play the Washington Huskies, and we'll be there for that one to help kickstart our trip. So like Oliver says, tailgates galore, hopefully see some sights as well with loads of the different cities that we're in. If anyone's got any tips or things to look out for, places to eat, please let us know in the comments, and we will also look towards those games, particularly to why we're so excited in an episode next week. So we will see you then.